How do you feel about Amanda Seales? How do you feel about Amanda Seales?
I want to preface this with our timeline, okay? So I watched the first 19 minutes of the Amanda Seales and Club Shay Shay interview, and I turned it off because I felt like, as a woman who has been diagnosed ASD, which is a full spectrum of things that you know what I mean, shows up, or whatever the case may be. It does not look one way. The way that she was speaking about it, to me, felt very scapegoatish. And having received the intervention that I have, I felt like even how she's speaking about it makes it very clear to me that she has not received that intervention. She has not spoken to a professional about this, because even to refer to herself out loud as an alien, you may actually feel that way, so don't get me wrong. But if you were talking to an interventionalist, somebody who's really trying to help you through the process, they would let you know that's not what you are. You are normal, okay? You're just your type of normal. And they're their type of normal, right? Because I told Joe I have conversations with people all the time. I feel like, y'all weird. And it might not be that they're weird. It's just how I'm perceiving it, right? So I got the ick. And I feel like I like Amanda Seales, but I think what we're not talking about is she wants to be real in an industry that only needs you to be liked. Did you hear what I said? She wants to be real in an industry that only requires you to be liked. So everybody has these think pieces on, well, is she wrong? Did she lie? And I'm like, that matters not.
It don't.
We don't like you. And that's all that matters. And unfortunately, she's unable to come to grips with that. And it just was hard to watch to me. And I don't think it was Shay Shay's fault. I think some of it was, but I think largely it was just.
I don't think any of it was Shannon's fault. I think that the truth of the matter is, like you just said, it doesn't matter whether or not you are right or not because of adulthood. And I think this just a maturity thing. Once you get to a certain level of maturity, you understand how the world works, and you understand that right or wrong or indifferent, this is just how the world is. And if you're going to sink or swim, you have to adapt to that. Now, it's your prerogative to not, but then you can't bitch and moan about how you're not seeing the success that you think that you ought to see, because this is how it works, right? And so I think that it was an interesting point when early on where he saw how she was moving and where it was going, and he asked her, "Are you single?" To me, that was a window into when you are in a relationship, you either going to be right or you're going to be happy. You know what I mean? And you can't. Maturity allows you to understand that I don't need to be right. I have to pick a lane and where I want to live in, right? I could be right, and I could be right at home by myself. Or I could be happy and I could understand how to navigate this situation in a way that's going to allow me to succeed at the things that I actually value. That just is adulthood and maturity. And I saw how she is not really copping to that. And I was trying to get with her.
He was really, y'all, if y'all saw the text messages when I was like, I'm not with this.
I was really trying to.
And Sister Jazz was like, well, why you feel like this? And blah, 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 blah. And I was absolutely right.
Because I like to give people grace to fall on their face first, right? And so I was trying to give her grace in that, but prior to this interview, I've only seen her say
be
positive,
great.
Be great. You know, I didn't know that much about her. I just knew that, you know, she was funny, she was black, she was well educated, She was well spoken, And she was, I would see her outside doing this, that, and the third. So that's really the extent of my knowledge of her. So when I heard this narrative of people don't like Amanda Seales, I'm thinking, why? For me, I operate from a place of, before I put a judgment on you, you got to show me why. That's just generally how I move.
And I don't got the time to be shown it. Right. I can immediately tell. When I tell y'all it only took me 19 minutes to know this is about to be a dumpster fire, I had to retreat because, one, it was triggering me. I felt like the issue with her saying that she had ASD, for me, was that when you are so early in your diagnosis, that she wasn't actually diagnosed.
That part. Hold on. Let's park there for a minute. Now, the girl says to Shannon multiple times during the interview, I was recently diagnosed as on the spectrum. And then at some point, because I first only saw it as a clip, like a social media clip. And then when we was on a plane on our way back home, I said, let me watch a little bit more to see some because context matters. Then I find that not only does she say it multiple times, but Shannon then asked her, so you yourself was diagnosed. Like you did the test, you yourself. You did? He literally said something like, you did? When she was talking about taking the test and everything like that, just to be clear. And she said, yes. So then she gets on social media and berates the people about how it shouldn't matter the fact that I wasn't actually clinically diagnosed by an actual professional. It shouldn't matter. Like y'all are just so, what did she say? Because then she turned it on us.
It was a they thing.
Everything
is a they
Y'all
statement.
are conditioned. Yeah. Y'all are so conditioned to only be able to perceive things one way and blah, 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 blah. When the reality of it is, you lied. Girl, you lied.
And the bigger issue I have with this, but guess who clocked it? Did I not clock it? I literally said 19 minutes in the group chat, and I want him to post it. I said, she's using this as a reason to justify her behavior.
And that's how it came off.
Which you will go to any interventionalist, and they will tell you, they will give you ways to be like, listen, I understand that this is how you may react, or, this is how you see things, or whatever the case may be. But sometimes interacting with other people is hard. Or sometimes reading things and reading the room is hard. You have to slow life down. It was so clear to me that I said, she just got this diagnosis. It is literally equivalent to somebody being pregnant for a week and a half and telling everybody they know. Things take time. You have to see it through. It was also very clear to me, just based on how she was speaking about it, that there was no intervention. Because the truth of the matter is, if you're seeing someone, even how she went on the diatribes, I'm like, girl, even how she had no patience for him. Nobody said Shannon Sharp was a Rhodes Scholar. You knew exactly what platform you're the one who claimed you're smarter than everybody. You knew exactly what kind of platform you were going on. So the idea that you go on there and then get annoyed with him because he's asking questions for clarification, because he don't necessarily understand everything, for me was like, girl, like, this is too early. It was too early to release this information. You do not have the tools to have this conversation. You do not have the patience for this conversation. And that might be a symptom of what you believe to be your diagnosis on the spectrum, right? I really do believe that. And I think that's okay. But I think over time, you will get the tools to be able to have these conversations with other people, and you not be annoyed with them for not being on the same plane. And I'm saying that because I was the same way. Joe will tell y'all, if I say something and you don't get it, I'm done talking about it. You don't get it, don't get it. You know what I mean? If I could go on these diatribes and talk about stuff and not care about how other people feel about it, because other people's feelings matter.
1,000%.
As do mine.
And being an adult and being and reaching a certain level of understanding and maturity helps you navigate these things, because we've been in conversations where the content of what you're saying is right, but it doesn't matter because how you're delivering it is wrong. So now, not only are we not talking about the content of the conversation, but now the main thing is not the main thing, and we're talking about your delivery. And 10 minutes in, I understood that was a lot of people's problems with Amanda. There was a lot of people's problems with Amanda, and that's a maturity thing. That's an adulting thing.
Being on the spectrum, it should not be used
as an excuse.
There are so many people who are high functioning, specifically a large amount of black women who are high functioning and are on the spectrum. And for and when they call it a spectrum, guys, there are so many layers to ASD. It almost felt like, my brother said this, shout out to Jamal. He said it almost felt like she picked a diagnosis of something people would be most sympathetic to. Because if she said she was bipolar, she would look crazy. And then people would be like, aha. When in truth, there's also room for that. It's also like, it is okay to have any mental illness and really are working through it and taking intervention and trying to figure it out so that you could be in society with people and thrive. You cannot be in a industry where it requires you to be liked and then be mad because people don't like you.
And then lean into
it and say, well, it's just my disorder. Unless, which my brother brought this up as well, the play is to make it a lawsuit and say, y'all treated me a certain kind of way and I'm diagnosed. I just felt like even bringing it up, it really, the problem is with her bringing it up is that she brought it up.
Yeah.
When she could have said, looking back on my experiences with other people, I often think that I may be on the spectrum because I'm seeing it one way. They are so clearly seeing their perspective another way. And I think there might be room for me to kind of explore this avenue.
And I think that that's exactly how she should have said it. And that's why I can't really get with her on the whole I was diagnosed thing, because there's nothing wrong with just saying, I think. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Because the truth of the matter is, we getting into this space, and this is why a lot of people probably couldn't get with it, because we're getting into this space thanks to Donald Trump, where facts don't matter anymore, right? It's the Donald Trump once said the line, I know more than the generals, right? So now we're getting into it. It's a very dangerous place to be when we devalue experts and we devalue the professionals, right? In that one sentence, he took a small portion of his idiot following back 50 years, because it was in that one sentence they went, you know what? I do trust you more than I trust the media. I do trust you more than I trust the generals. I do trust you more than I trust the doctors. So if you say COVID is fake, then COVID is fake, right? That's that. So he opened the door to that years ago. And Amanda, I know you probably don't see it this way, but you are kind of walking through that door when you chastise people for wanting you to have been diagnosed by a professional and have a actual, real, hardcore clinical diagnosis before you go out and you tell people that they need to accept the fact that you're diagnosed because you said so. That's weird to me. And we can't get into this space where weird. The mechanic can't tell us about cars anymore. The doctors can't tell us about the medical profession anymore. The musicians can't tell us about music anymore, because we're all experts in whatever the hell we say we experts in. I don't like that.
I don't love that. I just feel like more than that, I am trying to understand why that information was necessary. I think that, like, I don't think so two things, right? I don't necessarily think she needed to be actually diagnosed by someone, but I'm also curious, and y'all let us know, do she even go to therapy? Like, has she even spoken about being in therapy? Because it didn't even feel like...
No. You need to be diagnosed by someone when you have a platform and you're using it.
Yeah, you can't say that kind of information in that.
Because also, who's the determining factor of this? WebMD?
But
what do you mean? And then she spoke. The problem is she spoke about it with such authority. How can you be an expert and authority on something that you were never even clinically diagnosed?
And you could be the expert in yourself, and you could feel. I think that she could feel like, there might be something here I might need to explore.
Then say words matter. Say, I feel, I think. I feel like I'm on a spectrum. I think I could be on a spectrum.
Words absolutely matter. I mean? And I also think the way that she speaks very matter-of-factly about everything. Is another reason why people don't it's hard to align with those kind of personalities. And that makes sense, right? Like I'm saying that from a space of being the same exact way. I am, and so I get her so deeply, y'all. So I'm saying this from a space of, like, when I say I was triggered because it felt like me early on, right? Prior to at 25 figuring out what's going on with my brain, right? And a large part of that was that I just went to a therapist who just was like, I think we might need to explore something. You know what I mean? Like, go with me here. And we did. And we went through the process and everything like that. And
it was evident to me that she didn't go through that process, because I too, when she was talking, I saw similarities. I'm like, I can part of me gets her, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But then I realized the part of me that can't get with it is because I understand that I saw the growth that Zar had from processing things and all of that from that standpoint. And I could just tell that if you're still in this place where it's everybody else's fault, you didn't do the work.
You didn't even begin to work. Me and Joe talk about one of the big things that I've learned is, like, so sometimes I have a hard time. Not sometimes. I think more used to, less now. I used to have a hard time interacting with people, right? And, you know, you come off like busybody, talk too much, know it all those things, right? And one of the biggest things I've been given is, like, why statements. How do you feel statements? What do you think that means statements? Like, slow down the conversation. Because if I can slow down the conversation, I can slow down my thoughts, I can slow down my responses, and I can really show up for someone else in a particular way. I told Joe this. It was a time I had friends who were like, we're done with you. Like, we can't take you nowhere. You don't know how to act. You say whatever you want to out your mouth. It's, like, exhausting. And I was grown. You know what I mean? Like, I was a grown-ass woman. So it's like, so over time, even interacting, I said this to Joe, even interacting with his sister, I could tell sometimes I could speak to her and I would be curt or say something in a way that might come off like, I don't feel like I'm being snarky in my brain, but I might say it in a way that, you know, she receives a certain way, rightfully so. And I just had to slow it down so then I could pay attention to her mannerisms, because a lot of times I miss them. You know what I mean? And when I started slowing down the conversation, I feel like I could show up better for her and we could have a much, much better relationship, because it's not like, you know what I mean? Which it shows, for a lot of us, it shows up that way. So I get her.
Yes, combative.
And
is that how it looked to me?
And that's how it looks to I mean, I don't know about y'all, but as somebody, if I had a child who's on the spectrum and I heard this, I would be annoyed. Because what it sounded like to me is, y'all ever see the kids who busybody in class? And they be like, my bad, I'm moving like this because I got ADD. I'm doing this because I got that. Like, when you're in a community where people have mental health issues, yes, there are certain chasms that happen, and it may be as a symptom of whatever that you have, right? But the truth of the matter is, with work, with intervention, you can show up your best self. But that's with anything. That's not just ASD. That's being bipolar. Ask Jennifer Lewis. That's like, you know what I mean, being schizophrenic. People find a way with the proper intervention to show up in society as somebody who could be good to other people.
Yes.
The idea that she has been going through these things, you want to talk about Issa Rae? Oh, I don't feel like I need to protect Issa Rae no more. I just was like, girl, protect Issa Rae after she done gave all you black assholes a job? I'm not saying that we have loyalty to no one, and that's whack to me. That was like so whack to me. Then the whole thing with the what was she talking about with Shannon, and she got an attitude with him,
and she just stopped talking, and I thought that was so that was triggering to me.
But that's a symptom of,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't speak as an authority on this because you clearly don't know how to navigate these things, right? That's something that we used to have an issue with, because we'd be talking about something and Zara done with the conversation and she would just stop communicating. That's communication equals respect, right?
Yes.
So that to a more polished person, that looks like, I need a moment. I'm feeling this way.
Yes.
Right? that is respect. We just talked about, even outside of this context, we talked about a family member of ours that there was this whole drama around the planning of something, and a lot of it could have been averted had one person just communicated. And then we talked about, well, they was probably feeling this way and they was probably feeling that way. And at the end of the day, the thing still remains. When you are an adult, you still have to communicate, right? Because that certain people were owed the respect of communication, right? So it's also, again, getting out of getting away from keeping the main thing. Because in that moment when Zar used to do that, now I'm feeling disrespected. Because as your husband, I'm owed the respect of communication.
Right.
So you can't just stop talking. He's talking to her and asking her something. He responds and she goes, okay.
Yeah.
It's so immature, but also it's so immature. That's what kids do.
But
it's so immature. And so communication equals respect. You have to communicate as adults. It can't be, well, I'm sad, so I ain't got nothing to say. I'm mourning, so I don't got nothing to say. I'm angry, so I don't got nothing to say. Communicate. It's just a fact of life. You know what I mean?
And I feel like reflectively is not how she spoke about things, right?
Right.
It was more like, let me tell you how they dogged me out.
Yes.
And less like, as I go through my mind about my interactions with Issa Rae, I recognize that, mind you, Issa really may not have liked this woman. And I told Joe, she might have hired her off the strength that she knew that she had a character that she was going to have some kind of
I'm not giving her
strife
that much
with.
Credit. I thought the Issa Rae thing was weird. I thought Issa's conversation was weird by saying, well, I just didn't like you because I can equate you to the character. I thought that was
so
weird.
Let's be clear. I think a lot of what Amanda Seales said was rooted in her truth. And I didn't take a lot of issue with a lot that she said. I just think that she wants, where Cat Williams spoke about things not needing anything from it, it feels like she needs something from this.
Yes.
If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm interpreting that properly, but that's how I received it. And it's like, I want to cape for her and I want to go with her there. But you having this interaction with Issa, where nobody else has once come out about Issa about anything, I don't think that you're wrong in your feelings. I just think a lot of people have a lot of things to say about you.
Yes. If everybody's crazy, you're the one that's insane. That's really the bar.
And instead of being reflective, because now you're in a space of knowledge, right? So now she has the knowledge that she may be on the spectrum, right? I would be looking at and have looked at every interaction I've had with people and thinking, damn, I missed that. You know what I mean? Like, all because of this or whatever the case may be. Even as far as to say the whole situation with the publicist saying that she don't like her, whatever the case may be. And the publicist said, you don't want to know why I don't like you? And she was like, no, you are literally in an industry that requires you to be liked.
You are.
The idea that I would need to know why you don't like me, not for your own,
but for my own insight. And maybe I didn't get this job because so-and-so felt the same way. That's
what I'm saying, though. So for me, it's like, and everybody, like, I was watching something with these English women, and I can't remember the name of the thing, but they was like, well, why would I care if you like me or not? Because you're in an industry that requires you to be liked. Are you crazy? This woman is a publicist.
Yeah, this is not nursing. So
are you like what?
Don't equate this to your job at the Walmart.
This matters.
Is very different. You sell yourself, and the thing that
you quite literally sell
clicked
yourself.
For me, being in the industry is realizing the value of relationships. The one thing that one of my mentors taught me that was the biggest bar was that it's not about who you know, but who knows you.
Period.
Right? And so this has to be a lot of this. Much of what you get is less about your actual talent and more about your relationships.
Ask Monique.
This industry. Ask Monique. In this industry, in this entertainment world. So a lot of y'all are looking at this from the peer view of, being a nurse at Johns Hopkins or your job at the,
Right. She's not a professor.
She's not a professor.
She's not a nurse. She's not a doctor. It does. Her job.
She has to be liked to get work.
And
the truth of the matter is, a lot of people also are living in the space of what should be, which is also adulting, because being adulting is understanding that what should be is not always what is. I'm not saying,
and you could deserve it, and I think
you
she
can
does
deserve it, and so this is the way of the industry.
Yes.
I'm not saying that it's the right way.
Yes.
Let's be very clear. A lot of things she said, like I talked about earlier, I understood that the context of it was right.
Yes.
She was right. The principle of it was right. It doesn't change the reality of the world that we live in, right?
Yes.
As black people who navigate in the business world, we shouldn't have to be 10 times better than our white counterparts.
Right.
We shouldn't have to be 10 times smarter and be overqualified. But the reality is that's the world we live in. So we do, right? And so you can either embrace that and excel in life, or you can just cry about spilled milk and then be upset that you're not excelling because you don't want to adhere to the realities of where you actually live life. And I think that's a big issue for her.
It is such a big issue, and it's like, honey, even it's so much deeper than ASD, and that's what we're not talking about. Whatever it is, it's much deeper than ASD. I'm gonna say that. You know what I mean? Like,
it seems that way to me.
And I think that I think in order for her to get, like I said, y'all have to read The Mother of Black Hollywood. That is Jennifer Lewis's autobiography, where she speaks about the change that she felt when she was actually diagnosed
By a
bipolar.
professional.
Okay, when she was diagnosed bipolar.
An accredited professional.
But she speaks about how it changed her life. One, because she could be reflective about how she was in certain spaces, and then how she could move forward and really garner, like, she doesn't get Blackish, guys, if she doesn't get diagnosed.
Yes.
She says these things.
Because now you know how to manage it, and then you can lean on the professionals to help you manage
And
it.
then you can move on and say, this is not something that is controlling me. I have control of my life. I have control of my brain. Like, you know what I mean? Yes, there are certain imbalances or whatever the case may be, but I know what to do in order to show up properly. And it just did not feel that way.
At all.
And I just felt like it made... I feel like if I'm Issa, what did Jazz say? Issa probably texting her girlfriend like, look at this crazy ass her. And I really do believe that.
It's not helping her. We're about to get out of here. But before we get out of here, I want to say this about the Shannon Sharp aspect of it. Because we touched on it in the very beginning, but we didn't really address it. I don't think Shannon did anything wrong. Let's be clear for me. I think that somebody made a comment that said, because you talked about, Shannon not being a certain level of intellect.
He's not a Rhodes Scholar.
He doesn't have to be. You know what I'm saying?
That's
and
right.
Not to you, but I'm just saying to the people, because other people have said, well, Shannon wasn't smart enough to have this conversation.
I am so exhausted with that. Which is groupthink, by the way.
But also, it's racial.
Because Joe Rogan ain't smart enough to have those conversations either. And he got all the scientists, all the politicians, all the people coming on Joe Rogan.
What's Joe Rogan's...
but you could say that for anybody.
What's his qualifications to talk to presidents and Elon Musk and all that? Like, what's it? You know what I'm saying?
There are none. He been bashed in the head all his life.
Well, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to us, we want us to have to play by these different rules. Shannon Sharp has literally now, as of today, the #1 podcast in America. Right? Number one. Number two, he's gotten to that point by being Shannon Sharp. He doesn't
Hall of Famer, Super Bowl winner. He's a genius in his own right.
Because who is Amanda Seales? And when we're talking about who is allowed, whether Shannon is allowed to interview her or not, go Google Shannon Sharp then. Because who is Amanda Seales? When we talk about this in context to the person who was interviewing her, who is Amanda Seales? Let's just be real about that. Okay?
Respectfully, Amanda.
But let's back up a little bit here. He got this platform. He got to these 1 million followers in like a month and a half of even starting his podcast or whatever it was by being Shannon Sharp, by being himself. He does not have to be well-versed in everything on earth. We sit up here and talk about a bunch of stuff that we don't got degrees in.
Period.
Right? But
everybody
does, right? So this idea that he just is not on her level intellectually, so he shouldn't have her on the podcast, or he shouldn't be conducting certain interviews. And we got the Joe Rogans of the world talking to anybody and their mom with millions of followers, got a billion-dollar deal from Spotify and all this other stuff, but none of y'all have the same energy about him, and people like him. But when we see this black man elevating the way that he is elevating, we got all the opinions about what he shouldn't do and who he shouldn't be talking to and all of this stuff. It's whack. It's super whack, especially those who don't keep the same energy for everybody. So Shannon was well within his rights to conduct this interview, to book this interview, and talk to any other Rhodes scholars or professors or politicians or whoever the hell else that he want to have on his podcast with his millions and millions of followers. His officially #1 podcast in America show.
Right. I don't know. Amanda, I'm rooting for you, girl. I really do want you to get everything that you think you deserve. I really, really do. And I feel like...
But you got to check yourself. Got to work on yourself.
I think it's okay that there's room for growth. It is really okay. I think that there's room for a better idea of what your experience it has been with other people and everything like that. And I think it requires a bit of graceful reflection, because the more you learn about your diagnosis, the less you'll blame stuff on it.
Yep.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean? The more you'll be proactive about how you want to show up and how you actually do. And I really do believe that. And I like Amanda Seales. I'm rooting for you. But I want y'all to know, when I was in the group chat, it took me 19 minutes and I was right. 19 minutes and I clocked it. And then the next day it came out, she wasn't even diagnosed. I said, I don't know, the way she's speaking about this is making me uncomfortable, and I don't know why it's making me uncomfortable. But as somebody who identifies this way, it's just not feeling right. And then the next day, I just needed to say that.
Terrible.
The point I'm trying to make is, just like you all listen to Amanda Seales and believe everything she says, please also do that with me as well. That's what I'm saying. So, thank you guys for joining us. Again, I'm your girl, Zar Eleanor. This is Joseph Conner, and we'll see you beautiful mother jumpers later. Bye.